Dominic Hayes stepped toward his first-class seat with the kind of understated confidence that didn't need to announce itself. Briefcase in hand, he moved with the calm precision of a man who'd seen the world from boardrooms and cockpits alike. As the CEO of Vanguard Aero, the airline they were all flying on, he was no ordinary passenger. But this flight, a sleek transcontinental bound for New York, was about to become anything but routine. The cabin hummed with the soft clink of champagne flutes and the rustle of luxury, yet an electric undercurrent stirred as Dominic approached seat 1E, before he could set his briefcase down. A sharp voice cut through the quiet like a knife. "This, rose mine for sleeping," Karen Whitmore snapped. Her lavender blanket sprawled across both seats like a territorial flag. Her eyes flicked up, a smug smile curling her lips. "Find somewhere else if you even have a ticket." The words dripped with condescension, her tone daring him to challenge her. The cabin seemed to hold its breath. Passengers glancing over subtly, phones already tilting to capture the brewing storm. Dominic's face remained steady, but inside, a quiet fire sparked. "This is my seat," he said, his voice even as he held up his boarding pass. The crisp paper gleamed under the cabin lights. Undeniable proof. Karen barely glanced at it, her lips curling tighter. "You're mistaken," she hissed. "People like me need space. You'll have to move." The words landed like a slap, her entitlement hanging thick in the air, daring anyone to defy it. Whispers rippled through the cabin, passengers exchanging glances, some shocked, others intrigued. This wasn't just a seat dispute, it was a clash of power, pride, and dignity at 30,000 feet. "Please, ma'am," Flight Attendant Chloe ventured cautiously, stepping into the fray. Her voice was soft but firm, trained to diffuse without escalating. "We need to follow seat assignments." Karen's eyes narrowed, her voice slicing back. "I have a medical condition. This is my space for the next 5 hours." The lie was as bold as her blanket, now stretched like a fortress across. The seat's passengers shifted uncomfortably, their murmurs growing. Some raised phones, discreetly filming, while others leaned in, captivated by the unfolding drama. The weight of Karen's words pressed against the quiet dignity Dominic carried, a silent storm brewing in his steady gaze. He raised his boarding pass again, unwavering. "My ticket is for seat 1E. I need to sit there." Karen's sneer deepened, her voice dripping with mockery. "You're asking me to move? People like me are used to a certain standard. I'm not leaving." The cabin's whispers turned to a low hum, anxiety mixing with curiosity. Dominic's calm exterior masked a rising resolve. This man in the tailored navy suit wasn't just a passenger, he was the silent heartbeat of the airline. They all depended on. Chloe exchanged a glance with Marcus the purser, who stepped forward. "We're trying to resolve this," Marcus said quietly. But Karen's refusal locked the cabin in a tense standstill. Dominic took a step back, his voice low but resolute. "Then we wait." The words were simple, but they carried the weight of a man who knew his worth and his power. The clock ticked mercilessly, 7 minutes stretching into an eternity. Karen reclined her seat fully, adjusting her blanket and pillow as if digging in deeper, her confidence a challenge to the entire cabin. But the atmosphere was shifting. Eyes no longer lingered on her, but turned to Dominic, whose quiet presence seemed to grow larger with every passing second. A passenger in 2A whispered to another, "Isn't that Dominic Hayes, the CEO of Vanguard Aero?" The realization spread, like wildfire, murmurs igniting into hushed revelations. In the galley, Dominic's phone buzzed with a secure message. * protocol Raven initiated. A faint smile crossed his lips, the calm before the storm. Thousands of miles away, in Vanguard Aero's operations center, engineers monitored the flight. Dashboards flickered, lights pulsed, and subtle disruptions began rippling through the airline's network. Boarding gates stalled at key airports, crew schedules tangled, and flight plans faltered, all triggered by one man's refusal to yield. On board, Karen's confidence wavered. Her fingers trembled as she reached for her phone, only to find the Wi-Fi signal gone. "Why isn't the Wi-Fi working?" she hissed at Chloe, her voice sharp with frustration. "Intermittent disruptions, ma'am," Chloe replied evenly, avoiding eye contact. The skies themselves seemed to push back against Karen's entitlement. Karen rose, her voice climbing. "I want off this plane now." Marcus stepped forward, his tone calm but unyielding. "Ma'am, please remain seated. We're under restricted movement until further notice." Her glare froze, frustration mounting as the cabin's attention shifted. The subtle shift in power was unmistakable. Karen's will no longer held the room. Dominic watched quietly, his presence a force that needed no raised voice. The crew moved with newfound resolve, their professionalism sharpened by the corporate backing they sensed behind them. Whispers turned to conversations, then to demands for answers. "Is this delay because of her?" a man in 2A asked. "No," a woman in 2F replied firmly. "It's because of what she did." Karen's defiance crumbled further when the captain's voice crackled over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, due to an operational review, the current flight crew will temporarily disembark. We ask for your patience." The announcement sent a wave of disbelief through the cabin. Passengers exchanged stunned glances, some filming openly now, others absorbing the unprecedented scene. Karen shouted, "This is because of him, that man." But the crowd was no longer hers. Voices rose in dissent. "You threw your blanket over 2 seats and refused to move," a man retorted. "It's not about 1 seat," another added. "It's about respect." In the galley, Brian Arrow, Vanguard's VP of Corporate Risk, arrived swiftly, briefing the crew. His presence was a signal that this was no ordinary dispute. He ordered the cabin door reopened and Karen escorted back to her assigned seat. "Return to your seat, ma'am," he said firmly. Karen's jaw tightened, but she sat, her earlier arrogance replaced by quiet defeat. Dominic resumed his place in seat 1E, the once contested seat now his again. The cabin exhaled, the tension easing like a storm passing. Outside, the ripple effect escalated. System glitches cascaded across Vanguard Arrow's network, delaying boardings and tangling schedules at airports nationwide. Back on the plane, Dominic's tablet glowed with real-time updates. Social media buzzed, news feeds erupted with hashtags like #Flight3921 and #DignitySky. Passengers leaned in, captivated not just by the drama, but by its deeper message. A young woman whispered to her neighbor, "He didn't yell, didn't fight, but he changed everything." The truth was clear. Dignity doesn't need volume to be powerful. Karen's attempts to regain control faltered. Her frantic calls to lawyers went unanswered. Her outbursts met with silence. The crew, now led by a renewed sense of purpose under Chloe's direction, moved with precision. Vanguard Arrow's policies, flyer dignity scores, anonymous feedback channels, mandatory crew training were no longer empty promises, but a reality taking shape. As the engines roared to life and the plane pushed back, something bigger took flight, a movement. Passengers applauded softly, their claps not for the pilot but for the man who reminded them respect is a right, not a privilege. Months later, Karen's legal threats dissolved into whispers. Law firms distanced themselves. Her reputation tarnished beyond repair. Vanguard Arrow led the industry with transparent policies born from that single flight. Dominic declined every award, choosing instead to fly coach, blending into the crowd. His fight was never for glory but for change. The skies remembered his quiet stand, its echo carrying across thousands of flights. As the aircraft lifted off, a quiet transformation settled over the cabin. The tension that had gripped them hours earlier softened into a shared understanding. Respect isn't just a courtesy, it's a fundamental right that must never be ignored. Dominic sat calmly, his gaze reflective. This wasn't just a victory over one woman's arrogance. It was a moment that exposed how entrenched attitudes can erode dignity and how quiet courage can challenge them. Real change, he knew, didn't come from loud protests or dramatic confrontations. It grew from steadfast patience, unwavering principles, and the refusal to accept anything less than fairness. Around him, passengers exchanged nods, some offering subtle smiles, others quietly relieved that dignity had found a champion. Karen sat alone, her confidence replaced by an uneasy silence, a reckoning that her privilege was no longer a shield. Back on the ground, Vanguard Arrow's changes were already underway. Policies were revamped, crew training reimagined, and a culture of accountability blossomed. The ripple effect of this single flight stretched far beyond the terminal, sparking conversations about equality and respect in everyday interactions. Dominic understood the journey was far from over. The fight for dignity demanded constant vigilance and compassion. But that day, a seed was planted, a reminder that standing firm with quiet strength can reshape even the most rigid systems. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a warm glow over the city skyline, Dominic folded his boarding pass and placed it gently on his desk. It was a simple piece of paper, but it stood as a testament to a stand taken, a quiet symbol of change. If this story stirred your soul, join us at MidnightTales for more gripping journeys of courage, resilience, and the power of quiet conviction. Hit that like button, share this tale, and subscribe to MidnightTales on YouTube. Help us reach 100,000 subscribers and become part of a community that believes dignity always flies first. Stay tuned, because at MidnightTales we uncover the stories that remind us how one moment can change everything.